This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
If your fashion wish list lives rent-free in your brain, you need to be on Poshmark. With Poshmark, you're shopping millions of listings from thousands of closets, each curated by someone with their own style. Vintage finds, designer pieces, and everyday staples all in one place. Search for your favorites or let the discovery come to you. Poshmark makes it easy to find what you actually want to wear at prices that feel like a quiet win. Download the Poshmark app today and use code PODCAST10 when you sign up to get $10 off your first purchase.
A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 153. Life is challenging and difficult. No one gets out alive. Time to suck it up, Buttercup. Get ready for a monster-sized boot aimed to help you get traction on personal change and get living. I am John Curran, your host. Join me as I share my journey, exploring the forces that motivate us to change and help us get through whatever life throws at us. A swift kick in the ass. Life on your terms. Welcome to another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass. This is your host, John Curran. Today's episode, Navigating Uncharted Territory, from Comfort Zone to Courage Zone. So, I just returned from a long weekend with some brothers from another mother, these guys that I have known for going on 40 years. So imagine, I think there were 6 of us. I'm just smiling, thinking about this weekend. It was freaking awesome. So I'm 57 years old. I haven't gone skiing in almost 20 years, and I was a little apprehensive. I'm pretty well conditioned. I do martial arts twice a week, and I'm always stretching, and I'm always, watching my diet and things like that. Probably a little bit too concerned with my health, but I didn't have a lot of confidence, and I was afraid I was really going to hurt myself going skiing. But I'm happy to say that didn't happen. I definitely had to push my comfort zone, and I found myself feeling anxious. Anxiety is fear of the future. And I had this vision of the future of me like being brought down the mountain in one of those stretchers because maybe my hip broke. I've had hip issues. As I pressed towards my black belt, that's when it really hit hard. But as I'm learning, the things I worry about hardly ever happen. And I think my mind plays tricks on me that when I'm getting right close near, getting very near to the end of completing a goal, my body or my mind starts throwing challenges my way to make it tougher. My hips started hurting like about a belt or two before I reached black belt, because I was really pushing myself. And I think that's good. Awareness is key in this journey. But some of this is charted territory for me. It may be uncharted territory for you. My buddy, I'm not going to mention his name, but a good friend of mine, and I've known him almost 40 years. And he's in a place right now where he really, really needed his friends. And I think that us all coming together and going skiing was not only just an awesome time, but it was also very cathartic for my buddy who's in a tough place mentally right now. But he had never gone skiing. He really wanted to. And here's this guy. He's 57 years old, or 56 or 57 years old. Never been skiing. He's been exercising, I think, somehow, like running or walking or doing something. Looked like he was in pretty good shape. He had lost a lot of weight. He was extremely overweight, like a wobble almost. I mean, he's very short and he was very, very stout. But he lost the weight. He looked great. He don't look fantastic. Just watching his diet, and I think he had to work on it. Or exercise. He's a trucker, so he doesn't get his lifestyle is pretty sedentary, right? You're behind the wheel of a truck. Got great forearms, and his upper body is very strong and stuff from moving the wheel and moving the wheel. Anyhow, he had never been skiing. He went and he wasn't, leading up to the trip, just like me, was a bit anxious, little fearful of the future. And what do he wanted to know what to expect. So we, as a group, kind of shared with him individually and as a group our experience. And I think that we didn't really sugarcoat anything. We were honest with his expectation, honest about what to expect, saying, hey, man, this is physical activity. You are going to be sore. You need to condition yourself prior to going skiing because you're going to have a lot more fun, and it's going to be, you're going to go a lot further the better conditioned you are. So, you could go and not condition at all, but you won't be able to move afterwards. So, he took us up on that, and, he recognized that it's going to be cold, and he addressed, asked questions about, what do we wear? And, you can answer just about any question you have with Google or AI. I use AI a lot to help me kind of sort through complex situations and things. I like it. I think AI is a very cool tool to use and great way to kind of organize your thoughts sometimes, or at least get ideas on how to put things together. But physical activity is tough, and the journey that you're on is most likely tough. My buddy, he has his blinders on right now. He's depressed, and he's very negative, especially towards women. He went through a very bad breakup where they were living together. They actually had 2 babies together that died in childbirth. But that'll remind me to turn off my ringer before. I thought I did. But in any case, my buddy's in a rough space right now, and he needed his friends. His family are not very supportive, and really kind of he thinks gaslighting. Now, if you don't know what gaslighting is, gaslighting, I don't know, it can be a couple different things, but people can use gaslighting to make you feel crazy. They maybe deny something happened, or make you question that something happened or something was done, or your question makes you question your own experience, makes you question your own sanity. But it's done on purpose. It's done to manipulate, and you see it in the media these days too. People throwing out misinformation with an agenda to purposely hurt you. That's not a good thing. And I think with everything going on, these days. Gaslighting, manipulation, depression. People do have kind of a skewed perception of reality right now, and their blinders are on as to how wonderful this world is if they just, take off the blinders and become more aware. That's actually how you take off your blinders, is that you start to become more aware of what's really going on and try to become open to what's going on. It is again, no sugarcoating. It's extremely tough. It's extremely stressful. But getting through this is necessary if you want to move on. And believe me, it's worth the effort. Oh my gosh. I feel the fear, but do it anyway. And what I mean is, I'm not going to do things at risk and put myself at great risk, but I am going to take calculated risks. I am going to try to do things that are within my control that set me on a good path. Going to school is a great way to do that. It's a great example. I went to undergraduate school and I even went to graduate school. I set myself on a path for a life that I really wanted. And I have something else more to add about that too. If you're thinking about what you want out of life, start maybe thinking about how you want to feel. Now, the way I think about it, and what I really want out of life is I want to be able to feel freedom. And that's why I think I really love the weekend. Being out there on skis with my buddies and skiing, together, gave me a sense of freedom. I was on top of the world. I'm in Colorado and I'm looking out over the mountains. Now, the visibility wasn't all that great. It was snowing. But hey, buddy, I'm skiing. I want it to snow. Had just a feeling of independence and freedom and living on my terms. Brought a tear to my eye. Was I sore? Was it tough? Yeah, it was. Did I fall? Yeah. Did I bust my ass? Yeah. Did I have an awesome time? Yes. I got great payoff for stepping out of the comfort zone and moving to the courage zone. The more you do this, the more you're going to be able to do. And it's funny, you just have to take a little bit at a time, a little step, whatever you're comfortable with. But it's important to take these steps. Now, just because you're going to take a risk or leave your comfort zone is not going to say you're going to be successful all the time. You're not always going to win. But what I found is that when you play the game, even when you lose, you gain something out of it. There's some type of silver lining that's in everything that's bad, I think. Something positive that comes out of the negative. And it just is a reminder of how perspective changes your life. It really does. Your life doesn't necessarily change. Your perspective changes. Once you realize that this is out of your control, and this is within your control, and you can figure that out and become aware of it, and stop wasting time on things that you can't change, you'll be amazed at what you can do. Once you make a decision to change your life, it's unbelievable what you can accomplish. I think back when my former co-host Tommy was dying. I was just at the lowest part of my life, I think. Tommy's death hit me hard. His illness, it hit me hard. here was my oldest friend. I grew up with him. We were close, and it hit hard. But I figured out that when I was crying and feeling sad, it wasn't for Tommy. It was for me. Tommy's life, his story came to an end. My story continues. And I felt bad about my loss. Tommy's his pain is ended. His life is over. But he's not feeling sad about that. He's not feeling anything, I don't think. He's no longer here with us. He's gone. And that's going to happen to each and every one of us one day. Don't know when, don't particularly care to know. I want to keep living my life for as long as I possibly can and keep doing things like going skiing with my friends. And one day I will get my boat back and I will be cruising the Chesapeake Bay in my Bertram. And I'm going to do it. I think I might need to buy an island. Not like Richard Branson. I can't afford that. Would love to, but I'm thinking like maybe a little island in the Chesapeake Bay somewhere, where you have a little place that's off the grid, and you just get there by boat. I think that's kind of maybe my dream. I'm going to start looking into it. Everything is scary when you've not gone through it before. First time I bought a house, it was super scary. I didn't know what the hell to expect. But I've bought a couple of houses now. I've moved with my family a couple times. It's not scary anymore. I know what to do. And that gives me courage to do more. Think about any new experience that you had. Buying your first car. Scary as hell. You didn't know what you were doing. Maybe you even got burned on whatever you're doing. You learn from it, and you do better the next time. That applies to life. That's all we can really expect from ourselves, is to try and see what happens, and get up and stand up and try again. Now, when you're anxious about the future, it's a terrible feeling. In fact, through my meditation, I learned that, all about my feelings and like how my body was feeling. And I recognized or became aware of a certain feeling that was coming up in like my gut, in the left side of my gut. And, it was my anxiety. It was my fear of the future. That's where it hit me. And it didn't leave. It was terrible. I actually named the feeling Mortimer. Because why Mortimer? I think, I wanted to kind of acknowledge the anxiety, and the way I feel about Mortimer is that Mortimer is kind of an embarrassing thing to me. I mean, he's like you don't want Mortimer around, really. He's kind of a jerk. But he serves me in some way. And honestly, I have to say, I think that perhaps a lot of my feeling, or what I was thinking, was anxiety. It was actually diet related, and more related to my high sugar diet that I was having at the time, and continued for a while. I have a sweet tooth, and it really got out of hand, and I was probably eating 3 or 4 times the amount of sugar, and especially when Tommy was sick, buying this, cakes and donuts and stuff in the day-old section at Walmart or Kroger, bringing it home for the family, but it's really for you. And I was eating all that, eating so much sweets, and because of my exercise, I don't really gain the weight all that bad, as long as I'm not sensitive to the food. But what I noticed is that my energy was not all that great. And since I've switched and reduced my sugars and changed my fuel, my source of fuel, man, my energy's totally different now. I kicked ass on the slopes, by the way. After not skiing for 20 years, I was skiing some expert slopes. Now, I was advanced intermediate before, and I skied. I didn't see snow until I was 21, but I did ski quite a bit, as much as I could when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s. And then I didn't ski for 20 years and got old. But I hit the slopes. I stayed in black. I did expert level skiing and had a blast. You can do it too. If I can do it, I know you can. So, there's so much that good that comes out of this, both mentally and physically. I just want to say, try it. But if you're worried about the future, you might be feeling nervous. You might have excessive worrying, difficulty concentrating, traumatic flashbacks, like recurring thoughts about experiences and going back, back and thinking about and kind of just hanging on to these terrible experiences that really just need to try to let go, or having obsessive or intrusive thoughts, recurring thoughts that just really bother the hell out of you. I know that happened a lot when I was first discovering meditation. Really, it was before that. We always have these thoughts that come in, and what I've learned is that if I don't deal with these thoughts, they just bounce around my head, and they drive me crazy. What meditation enabled me to do is it taught me how to recognize those thoughts, become aware of them, and then confront them, acknowledge them. That's really the key, is acknowledging, hey, this thought that I keep having. Like, that's why I call it Mortimer. The feeling, it could be thoughts, it could be feelings. But you address it and, I actually asked you, how do you serve me? Why are you putting me through all this pain? What are you trying to tell me that I'm not getting? I need help here. I'm basically asking you yourself to help yourself. I know that during that time, I felt horrible on my stomach. I had this feeling in the pit of my stomach that wouldn't go away. I had trouble breathing. I actually lost my voice when I was put in stressful situations at work, and that really, for me, was the line. I had to draw the line somewhere and say that all this was impacting my life, my professional life, and I cannot permit that to happen. That was it. The games were over. It was going to impact my livelihood, and that would not enable, that would prevent me from providing to my family. And that, to me, is the most important thing. My chest was tight. I know my heart rate was off. High blood pressure. My appetite and my diet sucked. You could experience all these different things: shortness of breath, shakiness, rise in body temperature, sweating. There's all sorts of ways that you could feel, and it's very individual. But if it depends on how well you know yourself, I think, on how well you really know what the hell's going on with you. So, some ways to overcome fear and anxiety. It's twofold. First, there are ways you can prepare yourself in order to lessen the impact of the symptoms. Like we did with my buddy. So he's feeling anxious about going skiing. we shared our experiences with him. Said, hey, you know what? You're going to fall. You're going to be sore. You need to get, a good base layer so that you're not cold. Long underwear is a good thing. You're going to need gloves. You're going to need goggles. We helped him prepare and get the equipment. So prepare yourself, and that makes it a little bit easier. Like if you're going to go buy a house, what do? You go to your bank first and find out how much money you can actually borrow. That would be a good step, and maybe get a letter of approval, pre-approval letter to say, so you can go through, and it's gonna ease your way through the process. Because a lot of these things that we do, there's kind of a process of pulling you into it and learning about it, and it all involves in how you spend your time. As well as, and thinking, I think, takes up a considerable amount of our time. Hopefully. Maybe not with the majority of people these days. Seems like people try to put their brains in their back pockets and just sit on them and don't want to use them. But you're listening to a swift kick in the ass, and I'm telling you, if you're listening to me, you are a deep thinker. And you want to create positive change in your life, and that is exactly why I'm here, and I am here for you. Please let me know if this helps. I love to get feedback. I get barely anything from podcasts. So if I'm helping you, please let me know somehow. Drop me an email or reach out, leave a review or something. So here's some tips. The first, I said prepare yourself in order to lessen the impact of what you're going through. Okay. And then when you're ready to take a step outside of that comfort zone, try to talk yourself through potential responses before the situations begin. So you don't want to overthink things and create these disaster scenarios in your head, but think about how the different ways it could go down. Start thinking about different ways things could go and how you would respond to them, rather than getting sucked in this rabbit hole and thinking just about disaster. Try to expand. I really am a firm believer that we think in extremes. People think in extremes. And we're kind of drawn to the extreme. But extremes, either positive or negative, they happen. Surely they happen. But how often do they happen? Not very much. Most things happen somewhere in the middle between good and bad. In between the two extremes that you have in your head. And in some ways, you might not even ever, you may have never even thought of what happened, in reality. Because, reality is sometimes stranger than fiction. Reality is sometimes stranger than what we have in our heads. Believe it or not. So think about different ways the situation could go, how you would respond at each turn of these events. Take on small challenges to start, and you'll see that as you and make your challenges reachable, and get some accomplishments under your belt. You're going to feel like once you start setting goals and start accomplishing them, and I find it's helpful to write them down because that makes them real. It makes it tangible. It's something you can pick up a piece of paper and you can see your goal, and it does something in your mind to where it actually starts your unconscious working on that goal. And when you start to accomplish your goal, you will start to feel much more comfortable. And you'll start to challenge yourself a little bit more, a little bit more. And before you know it, you're doing amazing things and you're feeling great and life is freaking awesome. But don't expect those challenges to ever end, because I think that's where we fool ourselves. This is a journey we're on. We're not just going to reach a destination and life is never going to, life is just going to be the same day after day after day. That's not the way life is. We have challenges. We have ups and downs. We get kicked in the ass. We kick ourselves in the ass sometimes to get moving, to get someplace better. This life is what we make it. So engage in calming exercises such as meditation before a stressful situation begins. So like at the beginning of my day, after I get up, I turn my coffee maker on, and while it's brewing, I spend 20 minutes at least meditating each and every day. And I have to say that, yeah, it was tough in the beginning. It was really tough just sitting in a chair doing chair meditation. There's no right or wrong way of doing meditation. I'll give you a simple advice. This is how I meditate. I'll give you the first step. There's 2 steps. This is what I do. Step number 1, I breathe in. Yeah, I breathe in. Through my nose, really. That sounded like taking a hit or something. I don't know. That was that's better. Breathing in through my nose. What do you think I do next? I breathe out. Yeah, that's right. I breathe out. I do that. That's meditation. I'm not trying to stop the thoughts from happening. The thoughts are there for a reason. They're trying to help me. Sometimes they have, they don't really know what they're doing. They do more harm than good. But we have to decide, and we make a choice of whether those thoughts have weight or carry any weight, or if they don't. Maybe they're just a crazy thought. Meditation teaches you how to, embrace really those thoughts that you couldn't get out of your head before. You figure a way to address them and get them out. And it frees everything up, and it starts to open up, take off the blinders, and they actually kind of start to widen, and your perspective starts to change. And before you know it, you're happy again. I was just sitting out on my back porch recently, just thinking about how much life had changed in the last couple years. I was so utterly miserable when Tommy died. I was questioning myself, questioning so many things. Work was stressful. My marriage was stressful. Kids were stressful. I was in poor health. I hadn't been skiing in years. I couldn't physically envision myself skiing. I was going to really hurt myself. I was in a lot of physical pain and mental pain as well. I got through it. You can too. Journal daily to work out any lingering feelings of anxiety so that you don't carry over the next day. I find that just acknowledging that you have acknowledging something is a good way of letting it pass, because once you acknowledge it, you might realize saying, hey, you know what? This isn't really a big deal. What the hell am I so worried about? And say, I hear you, man. I see, I acknowledge what the point is, but let it go. I have to tell myself that sometimes. You can reframe your anxiety as a tool rather than something that holds you back. How are you going to use it? How is it going to serve you? And if something is not serving you, why are you keeping that in your life? And, I think getting to know yourself involves asking yourself a lot of questions. And, use it as a motivator to help move you forward. Okay. So we're all going to experience fear of the future from time to time. It's a natural thing, and I think fear keeps you alive. But it can also really seriously hold you back. And, the future is not here, and it's not set in stone necessarily. We can make changes, and we can do things which, right here and right now, that impact our future. And we will do things. But we can only do them here and now. That's why that only right here and now matters, is because it's the only time you can actually take action. The past is gone, my friend. It ain't coming back. You may look back on that from time, look back on it, and you may really actually want the past to come back. It's not coming back. You got to just keep it in its proper place and recognize it for what it is. We should learn from it, but know that it's not going to be there. It's ever the same. It's never going to be the same as it was in the past. Right here and right now, this is what we have. This is what we have to work with. And if you're holding off for the future, you're giving up your future, because you can only effectively change things right here, right now, but through the things you do. And even just taking a seat, sitting down and starting to meditate, it will help you move you forward. It may not seem like it is, but it's what you spend doing in daily practice that matters. Practice is how you spend your time, right? Practice takes time. Time is adds up. What we experience and how we spend our time, that's what makes up our life. So if you're experiencing anxiety, don't worry too much about it, okay? You will get through this. Our emotions are short term. It will pass. It might not seem like it, but it will change. It's not going to last forever. It's going to come and it's going to go. And in fact, I remember back when I had been feeling really great for like 6 months or so. And then I started feeling like something triggered me. I forget exactly what it was, but I felt Mortimer come back again. And you know what? I was able to kind of go, whoa, wait a minute here. And kind of put my hands up like a stop and say, stop. And I was able to pull myself out of that feeling that way. And the more I was, whenever that happened, I was able to do it easier each and every time. And now it's just gone. I don't have those recurring thoughts. I'm in a great place. In fact, that probably hurts my podcast because, I'm not really working at trying to change my life because I'm really happy with my life. But what drives me to do my podcast is I want to give you a quality product. I don't want to steer you wrong. I want to talk about what works for me, for others, and I want to help you create positive change in your life because I know that I have, and I know that you can. And the more people are happy with their lives, the better this world is going to be. I want you to live on your terms, because you're going to live a life like no other. So, practice grounding techniques. You don't want your head up in the air in the clouds, and you don't want to be unrealistic about your expectations. It's going to get you in trouble. Keep your expectations low. Kind of be open to what is possible, and try to allow these thoughts to pass. Some ways of kind of grounding yourself. If you're meditating, it's really the focused thought. It's you can count objects. You can count like 1 to 4. Count your breaths. You can analyze like certain physical sensations, like feeling the air coming through your nostrils. But give yourself positive affirmations, soothing thoughts, and try to relax and stretch out your muscles. Relieve that tension and that stress. And going for a walk is very helpful. Dancing, just getting some movement, is really going to be helpful to you. It doesn't seem like much, but I will tell you, one thing that really grounded me that involved movement was taking a hike. I loved going hiking, and I still love going hiking. But it was amazing to me how that enabled me to shift my perspective and really start to recognize what I could change and what I couldn't change, and enable me to make decisions that have positively contributed to my life. So, what you should expect on the other side. Now, I'm going to put this in a little file that you can download with this podcast. So make sure you go out and get that. The pros of entering your courage zone far outweigh the cons that you may experience along the way. Hopefully you're going to get out a lot more than you put in. And you're going to become more positive and a much more functional person overall. But here's some of the benefits I think you're going to get. You're going to build mental and emotional strength. You don't think about it much, but emotions are a tool, and they can help us become stronger. Crying is not a weakness; it's actually a strength. I was raised not to cry. My father ridiculed me in front of a mirror when I was crying, and it left a deep scar on me. Took me a long time to learn how to deal with my emotions because I was basically instructed to just push them down. I don't do that. You're going to gain practical life skills and experience in a variety of situations. It's hard to say what you're going to learn, but probably things that you've never thought of before. And it's going to make you more valuable at work, and it's going to help your personal life, professional life. And you're going to see that as you take one step forward, it just won't expand your life in that one area. It's going to expand it all the way around. I think if you do it right, people will start to take notice. Not at any, you don't have to be asking people People should be coming to you and saying what they notice. And you're going to start getting very creative because let's just face it, solving problems requires creativity. Because in the end, all you really want to do is solve the problem. And sometimes you need to think your way through to get it done. In this, you're going to see boosts in your health, mentally, physically. Your self-esteem will go up. And you're probably going to discover some new hobbies and meet new people in this. It's like you create I don't know, you just enrich your life, I think. And as time goes on, you're going to see that new challenges become a lot easier. You want to take more on, and you're going to feel less anxious about situations because you've been there and you've done that, and you have the courage to go into that uncharted territory and move from comfort zone to courage zone. So that's the end of my podcast today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please subscribe to the podcast. Please leave reviews. Please give me some feedback on what you like, what you don't like. Visit aswiftkickintheass.com. We've got some products out there, some ebooks for you, and even some I think collector item level T-shirts, because Tommy and I designed them, and I always get compliments when I wear mine in the Richmond area. So this is John Curran. This is a Swift Kick in the Ass podcast. Until next time, peace. This marks the end of another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass, placing it directly in the can. As much as I like to talk, even I have my limits. It's time to go. Catch me on the next show. For better or worse, whether you like us or not, please leave comments wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Visit our home on the interweb. I think you can leave me a voicemail there. You can also email me at john@aswiftkickintheass.com. It's been my extreme pleasure. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you got your ass moving. Until then, until the next time, I'm out of here. Peace.